Little side note there for you. All right, so anyway, so here's my primary structure. It says it's a chain. It's that easy. So I take whatever, this guy, number 1, look at number 2, look at number 3 and 4. These are my different amino acids now, right? N5, N6. I make a chain. It looks just like that, from top to bottom. So maybe know that my primary structure is just a chain of amino acids, all stuck together in the right order, right? Got in the right order. Secondary structure. This is I have a twisting or folding of those amino acids. So it has a kink in it, right? So the thing is no longer straight, but it has a kink. That kink is known as a alpha helix. So here's my little symbol. That's alpha helix. Okay. Also, there's another structure known as the pleated sheet. And I'll show that to you coming up in a minute too. I have like a better picture to show you. So these are my secondary structures. This is my primary. Secondary is a alpha helix or a pleated sheet. So again, they have a different function to them too, right? So not everything is just flat, whatever. You got to be able to make stuff. Tertiary structure. It says a three-dimensional twisting, if you will. So here's my tertiary structure. It goes all the way through this coiling, if you will. Okay. So my tertiary is more of a coiling. I'll put that on here. Coiling. And my fourth structure, my quaternary structure, I have to have a couple things. I have to have 2 or more chains, just say chains over there, 2 or more chains twisted together. We're going to find this for like hemoglobin. When you do hemoglobin in AMP2, you talk about your alpha chain and your beta chain, you're woven together with the hemoglobin and all that crazy stuff, right? So that'd be your quaternary structure. You have to have 2 or more chains. That's number 4. So 2 or more chains. So that'll definitely be a test question too. I'll ask you, what's the primary structure? What's the quaternary structure look like? Things like that. 1's a chain, 2 is the alpha helix or the pleated sheet, 3 is a coiling, 4 is 2 or more chains put together. So here's my secondary. I said I had a sheet, right? It's like an accordion, right? Sort of fold it back and forth, whatever. So it looks like a pleated sheet. Here's my alpha helix. Again, those are both secondary structures. Maybe a good thing to know. Secondary structures. Alpha helix, pleated sheet. Okay. You all good on structures of proteins then? What they look like structurally? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, good. Alrighty, so here's some more on those proteins. I sort of mentioned earlier how they make just about everything in the human body. So again, the shape of them will determine what they do, their function. So if you look through here, you can figure out we have all sorts of different proteins in the body. So we have structural proteins that include things like elastin and keratin and collagen. So you probably know that second one, right? Keratin from lab. Remember Stratified explained this? Keratinized. We said keratin was a protein that would waterproof the skin. So keratin, that's a great structural protein for us. We have regulatory proteins. These are proteins used to regulate the human body. They would include things like hormones and neurotransmitters. Then we have contractile proteins. Let's talk about like muscle stuff. So you have actin and myosin and things of that nature, tropomyosin, troponin, all found in muscle tissue used for contraction. Immunological proteins. These are things like antibodies and your interleukins and things of that nature. So again, it has to do with your immune system. And then we have transporter proteins, hemoglobin, carrier proteins, ion channels, things of that nature. So tons and tons and tons of proteins are out there. So again, your DNA tells you how to assemble everything so you can make this stuff. That's why it's really important to have good DNA, right? Out there. All right, so that's all my protein stuff. We're like almost done, right? Pretty close. Enzymes. Reading about enzymes. Well, an enzyme is a protein. So an enzyme is a protein. And enzymes do one thing. They do what? They facilitate chemical reactions. So they help out in that whole chemical reaction process. Here's like a great example. I want to take A and hook it to B. You're there. So I got to join them together. Sometimes that takes way too much energy to hook those two things together because your body has to use energy to build stuff, okay? So if I have way too much energy that's required, way too much energy, I just don't want to do it, it's like sort of detrimental to the body, I can use an enzyme to help me out. So I can go ahead and add an enzyme here, which actually will help to reduce the amount of energy required to put this thing together. So that's why enzymes are really, really important for us to go ahead and use. So again, they're highly specific, very efficient, and they facilitate those chemical reactions for me. Or if I want to use something and break it apart too, right? So I can have like A and B already together, through here, and then I have to use something to break it apart. Like this might be like sugar, maybe, over here. That's my little sugar molecule, and I want to break it apart. I can use an enzyme to do that. Maybe like amylase or whatever. That'll break that sugar for me. Well, the really cool thing is that all your proteins, all your enzymes end in the word ASE, A-S-E. So I think I mentioned this the other day too. So like the word lipase, we break it apart. So ACE is enzyme, lip sounds like fat or lipid. So lipase breaks fat apart, right? So lip tells you what it does in the word, right? What do you think a protease does?
Protein.
Yeah, breaks apart proteins. You can have like all sorts of stuff out there, right? So write the word apart, and it'll tell you what it's doing. All right, so we're good on that. So again, proteins that facilitate chemical reactions. Here's my little nucleic acid thing again. One of my last ones we're going to do for, again, those organic compounds. See here? And it says that DNA, RNA, things like that. So here's a little DNA thing. Then we have RNA. And it stands for what? Deoxyribose nucleic acid. So nucleic acid is in the name. Ribonucleic acid, right? So ribose is the sugar through there. Again, it contains carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen. So we're throwing that P. Okay, so your nucleic acid do what? They store and transmit your genetic information. So we said earlier, that's your genes, right? Those are your chromosomes. And this little guy over here. And it determines the order in which those amino acids will combine together to form the proteins. We already mentioned that from before too, right? So DNA, RNA, looking pretty good there. Can you have like your DNA tested too? Can you have that done locally? Like pretty cheap. You get a nice, pretty cool place. It's called, I think it's called DNA Print. It's down in Sarasota. DNA Print Genomics. Pretty cool little spot over there. They can do like really pretty reasonable. They actually came on campus like several years ago, and they were building this huge database, which was pretty cool because they came in and they took your picture, like if you wanted to participate or whatever. So they snapshot you. They took a cotton swab and swabbed the inside of your cheek, like we did up in lab, and they put all this stuff together. So here's the deal. They're building this huge database, so now they have your picture and your DNA. Okay, feel that. So what they did is they found on your DNA you have chromosomes and genes, so they can actually look at you and say, okay, well, you guys have to see like your first set of genes are for like certain things. Like for instance, I'm making this up, but like over here it could be like eye color, then you can have hair color, you can have straight hair, you can have curly hair. They're all different genes that are out there for you, right? To give you your height, your weight, your skin color. All of a sudden you have genes for all that stuff. What it is, they took your picture and they saw which genes that were active for you or whatever, and they built this huge database. You're thinking, okay, so why do that? Okay, so it was for like the police force and CIA and federal agents, whatever. So you go to a crime scene. Well, actually, it's really good. So you go to a crime scene and you find a sample of DNA that doesn't belong to the victim, and you punch it into this database, and they say, well, here's the DNA that we found. Here's this huge database of other DNA, and they start comparing it. So they know it's like this certain gene, the person probably had blue eyes, just based on this huge database of information. And the person probably has brown hair, and the person is probably between 5'5" and 5'8", and the person probably has this build. They can build a picture of what this person looks like just by their DNA.
That's scary.
based on other people's DNA in this huge
That
database.
is-
It's sort of cool, right? You can actually have like a snapshot of what the person might look like.
Assuming you're not a criminal, yes.
So, yeah, so, that's good. So I thought it was like sort of cool. They actually came and they did all this stuff, and they do like a little CD with all your genes on there, and yeah, it's
See
pretty cool.
what about your DNA. They're gonna take your DNA and then
Yeah,
they're
it's like really
gonna
cheap to have that
find a
too.
hair that you left.
They do it for like $100 or something. They'll find your DNA, tell you where
Say
you're
that you
from,
committed this
all your
crime.
ancestry stuff.
Did you hear that, right? They're
that?
gonna find your hair at this crime scene, and you left it there 3 weeks ago. And they're gonna take this and be like, that's the person who murdered.
Yeah,
me.
like,
Their DNA was at the scene. I'm sorry, I didn't vacuum my floors for 3 weeks. Man.
That's kind of gross.
Yeah.
So how complex is your DNA? Is it like really, really complex or really simple, do you think?
Really complex.
It sounds really complex, right? But it's really pretty simple because you only get yeah, all you have are these: an A, a T, a G, and a C. That's your DNA. That's it. So take a look at these bases over here, right? So it's an adenine, guanine, thymine, cytosine. So adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. That's it. So again, we think it's like really complex. All your DNA is this, right? On your little chromosome sort of thing. Your chromosome is nothing more than this. An A next to a G, next to another G, or a C, and a T, maybe a couple T. It's like the sequence of A's and T's and G's and C's. That's all there is to it. So we can just like throw this down here maybe, and then put in like, I don't know, a couple more C's, and maybe an A, another T, and an A, and a T, and a T, C, whatever. Okay, on that side.